Like, I got some new stuff and we're gonna unbox it right here for you. I'm gonna show you how to set this thing up and install it, and this is step 2 toward my building a smart home. Step 1 was, of course, buying the Amazon Alexa, or the Amazon Echo, which you control by saying Alexa, and that's gonna hook up to various smart devices throughout my house. This being the first one that just came in, and this being the one that's going to hopefully save me a little money on my power bill. So let's go ahead and take a look at this thing. It's like Christmas when you get new stuff, you know? Okay. Okay, box is open. And inside I've got 2 ecoBee 3s. Okay, now what these ecoBees are is basically smart thermostats, and they're going to go ahead and, as I understand it, they're going to go ahead and adjust my temperature according to whether anybody's home and according to environmental conditions outside the house. So I'm going to go ahead and open up one of these boxes, and then I'm going to go through the installation, of course, and then I'll show you the app and we'll see how it works, and then I'll do a follow-up video in the next month, maybe 6 weeks, and I'll see any real savings that actually showed up with this. I'm also going to talk a bit about how to set these up using the Amazon Echo as a home automation solution. So let's go ahead and open one of these. And by the way, check with your power company before you order these. Like in my case, my power company was giving a rebate of up to $100 for smart thermostats. Here, so you can see what it looks like. And that included the Amazon Nest. It included a couple different models, but included this particular ecoBee, which was highly recommended by a good friend of mine. And it also, the one I didn't see on the list, and I didn't really check to see if it was included, was the Honeywell model. Now, I personally did not want a Nest. I don't know. They seemed to a lot of bad press coming out of there after the merger with Google, and maybe they'll get their act together. But they basically, Google with the Nest was the pioneer for the smart device setup. Honeywell I kind of like because, I mean, that's their wheelhouse, right? That's their business. They make thermostats. And I think Honeywell's got this feature where it uses your geolocation on your smartphone to determine where you are in relation to your house, and it will turn on the thermostat as you get closer to home. Whereas the Nest uses, I believe it's like pattern recognition programming. And the ecoBee uses a smart sensor and a sensor within the ecoBee itself to determine if you're actually home or not, and to whether to make those temperature adjustments accordingly. And this is funny. The smarter Wi-Fi thermostat with room sensors for homes with more than one room. Now I know we're getting into the whole era of mini houses and stuff, but do any of you live in a home with just one room? Works with Apple HomeKit, so if you're using the Apple HomeKit as your home automation tool, this is also the thermostat for you. So box opens quite nice actually. It's a very nice presentation. Very green on the inside. But here you got your thermostat itself, your sensor, some instructions on where you can download the app. So we'll take off that cover. Thermostat itself is quite small, and you're going to see when I go through the installation that may be a problem for me because we painted the wall with a much larger thermostat, so I may have an unpainted section around it that I'm going to have to touch up, which that's a bit unfortunate, but it needs to get done, I guess. Smart sensor, put that over here. Just some paperwork there. Okay, on layer 2, you have a couple different components. Not sure what this is. I'm sure it'll be clear soon. So you got your mounting hardware underneath this panel down here, which is your screws and everything. And then you got this item here, which you do not need this if you have a C-wire. Now, for those of you that don't know about thermostats, there's something called the C-wire, which basically provides power to your thermostat. Not all thermostats have it, and if you don't, the device needs to get power from somewhere. In the case of the Google Nest thermostat, they basically have a battery in it, and that battery is what provides the power. Downside is you do have to recharge it periodically, as I understand it. I haven't used the Nest. I know people have, though. And the way the ecoBee solves it is they give you basically this, and this will go get the power from some, I guess, someplace. I have a C-wire, I'm not going to need this. But this will get power from someplace and feed it into your thermostat. All right, so again, mounting hardware is under here. Let me go ahead and see if I can pull that out. Oh wait, and there's more. There's a third layer to this box. Okay, so underneath there you got basically a plate, and I'm guessing from what it looks like, yeah, I'm gonna like this. Okay, so this plate you can put on the wall too, and this actually may help me a lot, and I'll figure out how to work this in a second. But basically put this on the wall, and it should cover up hopefully some of that space around the thermostat. And in here, you've got your instructions, what's in the box, how to set it up, installation guide, which I'm going to need because I'm not a thermostat expert by any means, and wire labels. Now I have put in enough thermostats to know these are helpful. When you'd want to disconnect it, all the wires are previously hooked up to they're hooked up to a particular portion on the thermostat. Let's see if I can show you in here if I can get this open. Okay, so if I open this thermostat here, you can see the different wires are labeled RCG, Y1, and it goes on and on and on. Now the problem is, of course, if you pull all the old wires off your thermostat, you don't know which ones go where, and that's where these labels come in, so you can label the wires and you know what reconnects to what. Okay, so that's important. And on the other side, very Apple-like, they give us ecoBee window stickers, so you can put these on your car and show everybody that you are a environmentally conscious person that uses smart thermostats to minimize your waste of energy. So now that I got this all torn apart, I'm going to go through the instructions and talk about how to set this up. I've got 2 of these in my house I got to set up. I got 2 zones, one upstairs, one downstairs, and when my game room in the basement comes online, I'll have a 3rd zone. Unfortunately, my power company wouldn't give me a 3rd rebate, so I'm going to repurpose, and people aren't going to be down there that often. I'm going to repurpose the thermostat that's up in the bedroom down in the basement. So let's get started. So hey guys, I'm back. I did manage to get both of these ecoBee 3 thermostats installed. Really wasn't too complicated. The hardest part I had was on the downstairs one, which still had the original thermostat from when they built the house. The wires weren't really long enough coming out of the wall to get everything connected. I did manage to do that, and it wasn't terrible. It just required a little bit of extra effort. It took about a half hour. The one upstairs, by that point I was an expert. It took me all of about, 20 minutes, if that. And I got a small video. I'll show you how you program it after it's installed. Yeah, nothing too dramatic. The one downstairs, unfortunately, because I had painted the wall a different color with the original thermostat, I was having a hard time covering it, so I had to use the bigger base plate behind it, which I don't really like the way it looks, and it still didn't cover some of the paint damage from when I took off the original thermostat. But that wall is due to be painted anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and replace that with the original base plate at that time. And the one upstairs actually looks pretty good. I'll show you that one. What else? Just a couple things to remember. Just be sure you shut off your furnace before you get started. Follow the instructions. It's not so hard. And lastly, the one thing I showed you when I first opened it up, and let me see if I can get this out of the box here, regarding that C-wire. Okay, this piece here comes in a box, and basically what this is, it's a power connector. So if your thermostat does not have a C-wire, you will need to install this. Now that's, if you're sitting there going, great, they provide a solution, hold off, because this end of it is supposed to connect into your furnace, wherever your furnace is, and this end goes to your thermostat. So if you have a house like mine, where your furnace is in the attic, and your thermostat's downstairs, and you value your drywall, this is going to be impossible to put in. So in my case, if I did not have a C-wire, this solution would not work for me at all. They do have programmable thermostats, like I mentioned earlier. I think the Nest is one of them. That if you don't have a C-wire, you can replace it with a battery. So that's an option. And my programmable thermostat upstairs actually did not have the C-wire connected. that also worked on a battery. So just some things to look out for. It's just, I mean, now if you're in a place where your furnace is close by your thermostat, then maybe this is a good solution. In my case, it was not. But again, I have a C-wire, so it wasn't a big deal. Just something to look out for. So I'm going to go ahead and show you a couple pictures that I took during the install. I'm going to show you a video of it working after. And I'm going to show you the website where you can go in and actually control your ecoBee. So this is the finished result of the thermostat I put downstairs. As you can see, this one here is not as attractive. That big metal thing at the top is part of a wall candle holder. Ignore that. But you can see where I lost some of the paint when I peeled off the old thermostat. It was there for quite some time. And in order to cover most of the damage, I used that larger back plate. Again, not the best look in the world, and I'm going to repaint this wall shortly, so I'll be going back to a more traditional look. Now let's look at the one upstairs, which actually looks a heck of a lot better. And this is the ecoBee upstairs. As you can see, this one looks a lot better than the one downstairs. They did not need to use that larger back plate. I was able to just use the standard one, which is essentially the size of the thermostat itself. These are still shots, you can't really see the animation. But essentially, it does detect when you walk over to it. So instead of just displaying the current temperature, it gives you extra information like what your thermostat's currently set at, whether it's holding or running a program, and then you've got those three lines in the lower left corner, which Android users will be familiar with, but that's basically just the menu that you can click on and go into additional details about the thermostat itself. I think it's a good looking unit. Let me just show you also one of the sensors I installed, and I'm still working on that. And this is one of the remote sensors that I installed with the ecoBee. This particular one is downstairs, and you're supposed to put it at about 5 foot height, and it does detect motion and it does detect temperature. The theory behind it is if you're in a particular room and you set it to say 75 degrees Fahrenheit, it will attempt to regulate that room to 75 degrees Fahrenheit. So in other words, you don't care that it's 75 in the room you're not in, you want it to be 75 in the room that you are in. And that's what these remote sensors do. This one here I've got sitting actually in a cabinet with a glass door in the kitchen. I'm not sure that's going to work out so good because I think the door may affect the temperature. I'm still working on the placement with that, and I have not yet placed the remote sensor upstairs yet. Now, if 2 remote sensors are not enough, meaning one in the thermostat itself and one remote within your house, you can purchase additional remote sensors, which is actually a really nice feature and very handy. In addition, if you happen to have an unfortunately placed thermostat where it's in bright sunlight, you can turn off the sensor within the thermostat itself. So even though the thermostat sort of becomes the brains of your heating and cooling system, it's not affected by the bright sunlight that's coming into the window. Also a nice feature. I've never seen that in any other thermostat. Let's go ahead and look at this one other photo I took while I was doing the installation. Now this is just something handy. It's a handy little trick. When you pop the front cover off your thermostat, and this is the original programmable thermostat I had upstairs, take a quick photograph, because even though they give you little labels to label all the wires, you'll find that's not very convenient. Some of these wires aren't long enough really to slap labels on. But take a quick photo. You can see clearly here where all the wires are run into. The red one's into the RC. If you move that, you can see the yellow one there is under the the Y at the bottom. And this one here, I just happen to know that blue wire, which is disconnected here, that's actually the C wire, which was not being used on this particular programmable thermostat. It was being used downstairs, but that's the key also to getting your ecoBee up and running. So what I want to show you next is a video of the actual setup process that I took after I had the install. And by the way, as I mentioned earlier, I apologize for the video qualities in this entire video. I realize it looks very amateurish. And unfortunately, it's one of those things, after I shot it, I went back and looked at it. It was too late to redo. And I thought in this particular type of information, it was more important to get you the information than it was to be a completely professional look. So I will work on that going forward. So here's that next video of the install. Okay, so this ecoBee upstairs is actually installed. This is the second one I installed today, and I'm just going to give you a quick overview of the setup. So basically, you're just going to hook up all the wires behind it, and there's really only a few of them. There's a red one, a white one, a yellow one, and the blue one was my C wire. Now, I replaced a programmable thermostat up here that did not have a C wire. The one downstairs actually did. They were different thermostats. So it's asking me here is when I hooked it up, did I hook up both an RC wire and an RC and RH wire? In my case, it was just the RC wire, so I click Next. And then it detects which wires I have hooked up. This is a great place to check your work. So that's actually correct. I have the RC wire, the G wire, the Y1, W1, and the C wire. So that is correct. Do I have one of these accessories installed? Humidifier, dehumidifier, ventilator? No. Do I prefer Fahrenheit or Celsius? Being one of like only 2 countries in the world that actually use Fahrenheit, I'll say Fahrenheit. And equipment configuration, furnace, and that's basically, this is all correct, I already verified it, but your choices for furnace or boiler. So I'm choosing furnace, and there's a fan run by the thermostat. Next, what do you want to name this? And I'm going to call this one upstairs. Now this is handy if you have multiple ecoBees, right? So I got one downstairs which is called main floor, and this one's going to be called upstairs. And that's handy if you want to hook it up to something such as, in my case, the Amazon Echo. So I'll just tell it set upstairs to 70 degrees. So I go next. What is your ideal temperature during the winter? It suggests 69 to 71. I'm going to leave that at the default of 69. What's your ideal temperature during the summer? 74 to 78. I'm going to set this one down to 75 actually. I live in Atlanta. It's kind of hot down here. Next. What is the current mode of your HVAC system? And I'm going to say cooling, because it is the summer here in Atlanta right now. Almost fall. Smart home and away. Now, this is that feature within the smart thermostat where it detects whether you're home or not, makes adjustments accordingly. So I'm going to go ahead and let that be enabled. What time zone are we in? United States, New York time zone. We're in Eastern time zone. And Wi-Fi configuration. Now, this is where it gets kind of neat. So I'm going to say next, and you can either type in your Wi-Fi password right on the ecoBee, or if you happen to have an iPhone or an iPad or another iOS device, you can actually use that to configure. I'm going to try to capture that as best I can. So I'm going to say use iPhone or iPad and click next. And open your iPhone or iPad. Now I'm going to go ahead and try to capture this best I can. I'm trying to hold 2 phones here. So I go into my settings, I go to my Wi-Fi, and you're going to see down here, set up new device, and here's my ecoBee. Accessory name, and I want it to go to that particular network, so I go up here and I click next. Joining Cylon. This accessory will be set to join Cylon. So let's see if I can get them both in the picture here. And Cylon being my Wi-Fi access point. And by the way, that blinking red light that you see in the upper left of the video, you can't see that with the naked eye. That I find kind of interesting. The camera's picking that up. So waiting on the ecoBee at this point. And there it is, it's joined. I'm done with the phone at this point. So connecting to ecobee.com, and it's going to go ahead and download whatever firmware updates it needs. Connection completed. Your ecoBee is now connected to the ecoBee server. Click next, sets the date and time, which in this case is actually correct. Requesting registration code, and I'm going to turn the camera off at this point. Basically, that's your primary setup. So at this point, you're going to have the registration code, and you can go ahead and add it into your ecoBee app, and you'll be able to continue your configuration. And I'm also going to go a step further and join this to my my Amazon Echo, so I can continue and remotely control it. So I clicked finish, and basically, when you're all done, that's what you're going to see. And to go ahead and add your new ecoBee into your Alexa so that you can control it with voice commands, you basically go into, you go to echo.amazon.com, redirects you to alexa.amazon.com, and then you got to go over here on the left to smart home, and you can see I've already added in the ecoBee smart skill. If you haven't done that, you're never going to find your ecoBee. So what you're going to have to do is go and basically get more smart skills. You can see it lists a whole bunch of different stuff here. You'll find a Nest thermostat, home control assistant, smart Insteon, all that stuff. The only one I was interested in was the ecoBee. So I'm going to go back to my smart home settings, and it found, when I put in the first one, I went through this process and already knows about the thermostat on the main floor. So I'm going to hit Discover Devices. It's going to go out, it's going to look, take about 20 seconds, I guess. And there it is. So it's found my upstairs now. So basically, the way this is going to work is I can go, Alexa, set upstairs to 70 degrees, or Alexa, set main floor to 70 degrees, or whatever it is. And that's really it. Once you're set up, you're good to go. Just the important thing to remember is what you call it here. So upstairs, main floor. I got a friend that just called his thermostat because he's only got one in his house, and it made life a lot easier for him. And that's it. So I'm set up with smart home now. I just wanted to show you the actual web page you go to manage your ecoBees. So in this case here, I've got two thermostats displaying, which is one is my main floor and one is upstairs. And I can just drill down into any one of them. So I click on main floor. And it takes me into basically all the settings for the main floor thermostat. And you can see here, it shows me information about humidity, whether the air conditioner is running or the heater is running, the current temperature, and I can adjust the temperature here by sliding this up and down. I can turn the fan from auto to on, all the same stuff you do with the thermostat, except in this case, I'm doing it from their website, and I can also do this from my smartphone, which is kind of cool. In addition, I can make some quick changes, like if I'm scheduled to be home and I'm not, I can go ahead and click away, so it puts the thermostats into cost savings mode. It shows me my current weather, and I can click on that. This is the exterior weather, and the ecoBee takes this into account as it makes adjustments to your comfort level. If you go on vacation, you can click that again, puts it in cost savings mode. You can see right now it's currently September 21st, and based on the time of day, I'm scheduled to be home. So it's awake mode. It can tell I'm awake by motion sensors and whatnot. I can get reminders, so this will tell me when it's time to change the filters on my air conditioner or on my furnace. And I can go over here to sensors, and it can show me what sensors I have. So I've got Little Bee here, which is the sensor in the kitchen. It's showing me that the kitchen is also 75 degrees and unoccupied. So if I go back to my thermostats, I can see the same information about the upstairs thermostat. And I've also got this thing called groups here. And essentially, by going into thermostats here, I can group two of my thermostats together. So here's my membership, the two different thermostats, and here's the setting. This is all the information that I've asked the thermostats to share among themselves. So I got system mode, vacation, all that stuff. I set it in one thermostat, and it will set it for all of them, which is a really, really handy feature. And lastly, if I go into Home IQ, I'm not going to have a lot of information here right now because I just installed it. But after 30 days, it gives you a bunch of analytics about how your home's running and the amount of money you're saving. So this is actually a really nice feature of the ecoBee, and it's one that I think is fairly unique to this product. Can't say that for certain. Can't say I've tried every thermostat out there, but it's a highly recommended feature. In addition, you've got links for support or to contact ecoBee itself, change your password, add additional apps and whatnot. So that's it. Again, sorry about the video quality in this, but I hope the information was helpful to you. and I'm always working to improve the video quality. I'm currently finishing a room in my basement now that should be done by the end of the year, in which case that will double as a recording studio for these videos, and you should see a huge improvement by then. So if you like what I'm doing, please subscribe to my channel, and if you like this video, click like. Constructive comments are always welcome below, and I do try to respond to all of them. Until next time, guys, this is Mike.